Hi, and welcome to another episode of About the Authors TV Fantasy Edition. I'm your host, Jake Brown. Game of Thrones changed television the way that Stranger Things did, taking fantasy mainstream as a genre, and making world-famous superstars out of both its author-creator George R. R. Martin and its most beloved cast members, with Bran Stark protector Hodor as no exception, who Entertainment Weekly once described as the lovable mono-verbal Hodor, and the scene of his death saving Bran as one of the show's most powerful moments. Well, People magazine recently broke the news exclusively that actor Kristian Nairn is more than just a fan-favorite character on Game of Thrones. He's now an author as well. Best known for his role as Hodor in the Emmy-winning HBO series, Beyond the Throne shines light on the person behind the character. Game of Thrones fans will be delighted to read about Nairn's experience with the beloved series, whose finale aired in 2019, such as how he was initially reluctant to meet with the show's producers. Nairn also delves into the bonds the actors developed on set and the impact of fame and Beyond the Throne, epic journeys, enduring friendships, and surprising tales. And he joins us today to talk about it all. Kristian, welcome to the show. Long before a generation of children first fell in love with storytelling through watching HBO's Game of Thrones, what styles of stories could we have found you taking in at that same age? Whether on TV or in movies, comic books, or songs given your musical background, or on the page in books?
I miss all that. I think we had memorabilia and stuff on lockdown back then. I think it seemed like we just discovered the benefits of plastic. And so you had all your action figures and, oh my goodness, my poor mother, my house was just covered in movie and like sci-fi and computer game memorabilia. So I kind of missed that though. The first role playing I did really was with my mother. We used to play this ridiculous game of Wonder Woman where I would be Wonder Woman, clearly, obviously. I mean, I'm obviously born to play Wonder Woman. But every day it was the same storyline. I would act out being a wrongfully imprisoned reporter for some reason. Made no sense. And mum would be the bad police officer who would lock me up. And God love my mum for her patience. So I always ended up in like a physical fight, or turned into an argument. But I think that was the first real imagining myself as someone else, and because all my role models were female when I was young, I think that's why I gravitated towards Wonder Woman.
You actually first found your way on the stage performing for audiences as a trance house DJ of the Belfast nightclub Kremlin as DJ Kristian. With Variety reporting on that parallel career, the DJing has long taken the center stage in Nairn's life. He's hit the festival circuit performing across the globe, from Tomorrowland in Belgium to Sunburn in India. He's also made the rounds of the major clubs, appearing alongside Steve Aoki, Fatboy Slim, and Dimitri Vegas, and like Mike at high-profile venues such as Amnesia in Ibiza and Hakkasan in Las Vegas. Nairn brings high-energy DJ sets of progressive EDM and main room vocal house. Please talk about how you feel this musical alter ego will help prep you for the mindset of being an actor on a TV show.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because most people don't come from the musician's point of view, and they ask me how different it is to be acting and performing with music, where to me it's exactly the same. And you're right, it is a portal into the next. It's just the tools you use. You either have a drum in your hand, you've got a guitar in your hand, you're portraying a character. It all feels exactly the same to me. And learning of how to play multiple instruments, it just teaches you different ways and different approaches and how to get to the end product that you want. And I definitely applied that to my acting, definitely, without having any formal acting training at that stage. I used my music training and my time in drag. I sort of combined those two together, and that's what happened.
Serendipity, as it was in fact your role behind the turntables that would help you then land the role of a lifetime. One Gentleman's Quarterly recently put in context its most prized history, that no matter what happens on Game of Thrones, one thing remains the same: Hodor. On a series with so many characters to hate watch, the sweet, loyal, brand-carrying half-giant is the one to love. He's a lover, not a fighter. Unless Bran is warging him, in which case he's a fighter. Please regale those of us who haven't heard this inspiring story yet how this opportunity first came in knocking.
Well, I was performing as a drag artist and DJ in a club in Belfast called the Kremlin, which is kind of legendary, really, in Ireland. But really, through my performances and persona that I created, there was a guy there. I was just a regular in the club who used to act as an agent for me. Never got me any work apart from Game of Thrones. Well, I mean, that's maybe all he needed ever to get me. But he set me up for these like small auditions here and there, and one of them happened to be for Hot Fuzz, which is like quite a well-known Simon Pegg movie. And I did it absolutely, as you'll see in the book, quite a horrendous job of the audition. Um, and just not knowing how to audition, because even as a new actor, not only you learn how to audition, you have to learn how to be in this whole new world. Auditioning is it's a skill. I had to learn that separately, and I don't think I'm there yet. It's just like an intense job interview, you know. So I did this terrible job on Hot Fuzz, and I went away and thought that's the last I'm going to hear about that, and it was for 5 years. And one day I was on the way down to meet my friend for lunch, and the phone went, and it was him, and he said, "Right, I need you to meet me at this place. We had a callback from Nina Gold, who was the casting director." I said, "My God, that was 5 years ago." There's a new production coming to Belfast, and they're very interested in you for the role. You can't think about anybody else for this role. It just seems to be for you. But they still want to see you go on tape. So I, well, the guy, Connor, his he found a birthday party with a small child who masqueraded as Isaac's part, and I had to sort of demonstrate my physicality, my ability to react with different emotions and respond in different ways, all at the same time being surrounded by a group of 40-year-old adults. In the background, it's on the internet, which I'm absolutely horrified to tell you. I mean, you can't escape these days, my friend. You can, if you put something out there, you got. But you know what? It got me to where I am today, so it can't have been that terrible.
How did it feel to be all of a sudden immersed in the all-encompassing world of Game of Thrones, between what Time magazine detailed in its heyday as sweeping and massive sets that seemed so real, and what Time and Leisure magazine captured as the lush world-building, visually stunning way production designers brought George R.R. Martin's rich, complicated world to life? The story is, after all, a study of mind-blowing landscapes, frigid wastelands and forests beyond the wall, the amply treed King's Road, turquoise waters across the narrow sea, and the sunny medieval King's Landing, to name a few. While many of Game of Thrones' recurring sets, like the Iron Throne, were filmed at Paint Hall Studios in Belfast, the show was largely filmed on location, primarily in Northern Ireland and Iceland for scenes in the north, and Croatia and Spain for the south. Cast members who had scenes beyond the wall were known to film in freezing temperatures, often on lands buried in feet of snow, to help inspire and shape the character that you brought to life traveling through so many of them as Hodor, Brandon Stark, Asha, and Summer throughout the 8 seasons you co-starred on this legendary show.
Yeah, before I went, I didn't know how important that would be. And I remember walking on the set the first day. I'd already realized by looking at the costumes and the props. And, you know, I've sort of worked in this industry for a while without being an actor. You know, I've sort of been in the entertainment business for a while. I've seen props, and I've never seen anything like this. And still, I just saw, I'm here for a heritage auction at the minute. They're selling off all the stuff. And I saw it all again last night, and it reminded me, these props aren't props, they're real. They're like, these are real swords, real leather work, real artisans have been used. Like, the castles were made from real stone. There was real shit on the floor. It's like immensely easy to like push yourself into this universe because it's real and it smells real. And I was tired. Everyone's tired. You're wearing these heavy costumes, so you're trudging about the place. My God, you're really trudging. You don't really have to put that on. But I think that's the difference. I think we all suffered a bit for that show, and by God, it was worth it. You know, it's just the gravitas I feel in Game of Thrones. Even people who don't like it, they have to admit it. There's a strange gravitas to Game of Thrones, which I think is absent from everything else that's tried to copy of it. That's my opinion anyway. I don't know if you agree, but there's just a secret sauce in there. Definitely how, especially with Isaac, how I felt about Isaac would have come across how I played Hodor, I hope, because he was my little brother on set. Still is. I only saw him 10 hours ago. So yeah, that was immensely important. Hopefully some of the love I felt for him came across in how Hodor was portrayed. But we did have more people in our group as well, and over time, we all became very tight. And I think that helped. it's just not. It's stressful acting. People don't realize how stressful it is. Like I've had regular jobs, really some shitty regular jobs, so I feel that I'm qualified to say that it is a hard job. Well, it's physically hard, not just for me. Like if you look at a lot of, especially with sci-fi actors, I go to a lot of comic cons. A lot of them, their bodies are kind of broken from all like the standing around for like literal hours and wearing heavy costumes, holding yourself in horrible positions and stuff. You all end up in pretty bad shape because that's just the name of the game, really. It's physically hard, it's mentally hard, and it's very repetitive and it's boring. But the end product is worth it. And getting to express yourself and the immense privilege you have to get your art out there, it's worth it. And having, yeah, just that little group, when you're relaxed with people and you've been spending a lot of time with them, it's just easy to give your best work and not be self conscious. I just like Hodor. What time's lunch? You know what I mean? I didn't have any problem jumping straight out of Hodor. I wouldn't say I did a lot of prep because I don't think that's who Hodor was. He's quite reactionary, to what's happening around him. So I had to really learn to jump deeply in, really be deep, and to really stop thinking as Christian. That was very important because we're very different people. But also, I was really lucky to have like some of the most talented British and from all over the world actors to learn from. And I soon realized that I would be stupid not to be like treating this almost like a class. I was just watching and I learned so much from like Ron Donaghy, from Donald Sumpter, from Sean Bean. Just watching these people, it's a privilege to watch them do their craft. So I learned from them, you know. So I had a really, really lucky, like almost like a mastercraft or a masterclass in acting. I used to not watch myself. I couldn't watch myself on TV. But when I realized how valuable it was to sort of learn your craft, I very quickly got over that too.
The New York Times would quip in a headline in 2019 that Game of Thrones breaks its own records. This week's episode had 17.8 million viewers on Sunday, setting a new single night record for the series. And traveling back to the end of season 1, with Entertainment Weekly affirmed that across all 8 seasons to come, Game of Thrones went from unknown to universally beloved, and became one of the great pop culture fascinations of the 2010s. While the New Yorker congratulated after its first season became such a smash hit, while the New Yorker congratulated it for becoming the ideal show to binge watch, with its cliffhangers and grand guignol dazzle, it rewards a bloody committed immersion in its foreign world. Game of Thrones is the latest entree to television's most esteemed category, the sophisticated cable drama about the patriarchal subculture. The first season of Game of Thrones built up skillfully, sketching in 10 episodes a conflict among the kingdoms of Westeros, each with its own philosophical ecosystem. And in an effort to keep rabid fans from leaking season 2 scripts on the web before they aired, or had maybe even been shot, there was basically a Sopranos-style lockdown system put into place when everyone got new scripts. What was it like to act amid having to adapt to the show's continuing explosion in popularity here?
As far as I remember, and I'm pretty sure this is right, um, in the first couple of seasons, we would have got all the scripts and all hard copies. But then the world started to change. And I think at the start of season 2, one of the scripts was left in a Starbucks or something. Starbucks gets mentioned way too much in Game of Thrones lore. We'll not talk about that. But anyway, um, yeah. So it went from getting everything to just getting what you needed to see, and then it goes to emails, and you had all this mad, crazy protection on the emails. So it used to be so loose with the scripts, and you'd be able to see what's going to be happening around you. So I had to ask a few more questions after season 3. So, but I understand why they did it because the stakes were higher. At the start, no one really cared, but after that, people were hungry. Like even on set, over the years, like after about season 4, there were people like standing at the gates of the set. There were people flying drones over helicopters trying to get shots of us, just to get a spoiler. I don't know if that's ever happened in a show before. I don't know if, not as much. It was every day. Every day there'd be something. People were just trying to find out what's going to happen.
Now, there was a very famous scene in Hodor's story arc that's immortalized among Game of Thrones' greatest hits. It's evinced by creator George R.R. Martin himself endorsing that I thought they executed it very well. Very physical. Hold the door was Hodor's strength. In the book, Hodor stoned one of the old swords from the crypt. Bran has been warging into Hodor and practicing with his body because Bran's been trained in swordplay. So telling Hodor to hold the door is more like hold this pass, defend it when enemies are coming. And Hodor is fighting and killing them. While Vanity Fair captured fan shock as viewers were rocked Sunday night with the tragic sacrifice of the gentle giant Hodor. What do you recall about creating that fateful moment that's remained among the most memorable for fans on the show since?
Probably of all the scenes I've done, that was one of the most exacting scenes, because the scenes with young Hodor, who played by Sam, they were all filmed way before. So they were trying to match up sort of what happened with him when he was on the ground while I was like dying against the door. So I was trying to sort of, they were showing it to me on an iPhone and going, can you sort of like move yourself this way and stuff? So that was hard. You know, it was like knowing exactly what had happened and seeing it for myself. But yeah, that scene, it was technically hard, and there was a lot of elements to tie together with special effects, and that was the most challenging scene for me, definitely. I never imagined the impact it was going to have, not even close. I still have people like just bursting into tears in front of me, like as long ago as 3 days ago. Being who I am, and having done drag, and I've always been kind of known in Belfast, not in any way famous or anything, but I've just been known. You know, I've been around the band scene, I've been around the club scene. Um, so when I go home, really, that's where I get the least attention, and I absolutely love that. I don't mean because I like attention or whatever. It's just because, or I don't like attention even. Um, it's home, and I love the fact that people don't give a shit. I just love that, because I don't give a shit about other famous people. You know what I mean? I'm just like whatever. We're just people, and it's just so refreshing. I mean, it was a lot to get used to. Like after the death scene, I kind of had to become a bit of a recluse because it was just everywhere. I was getting into elevators, and there was like pictures of my face on door buttons, like that and stuff. I didn't even know I was there. You know, I was like, holy shit. Um, it was wild. That's a lot to you get your head around. It's also kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, anyone who tells you it's not, a liar. It's kind of cool. I didn't want to be famous. I just wanted to be known for my work. I thought that would be as a guitarist when I was younger. I thought that would be a DJ, but you know, we all change our paths. We all. I mean, I don't feel I have changed my path. I feel I've just kind of took a few branches. I think it's all going to lead me to the same place.
After Game of Thrones wrapped, you were able to successfully weave its themes into your live DJ Rave the Thrones shows. How much fun has it been to bring that dream full circle?
It's been really amazing. Although, just in a weird sort of Orwellian twist, when I got cast, people were reacting and saying he's a DJ, he's going to make a mess out of this. And then when they knew me as Hodor, people who didn't know me as a DJ were like, "Oh, not another one, not another celebrity DJ." And I'm like, "Really, guys? Really? This is literally my job. You know, I've been doing this, and I'm also better than any celebrity goddamn DJ. I've been doing it for long enough, and if I wasn't, there'd be problems. But yeah, that was a trip. I felt like at that stage, I felt like I was constantly justifying myself, and I was all like, "How dare you?" in a way. But the world was getting to know me then, and I just kind of accepted it. I have a central website, kristiannairn.com, and then obviously on all the streaming sites and iTunes, Beatport. It's in all the right places, so it's not too easy to find. And there's no other Kristian Nairns out there.
What about touring the world, doing the various Game of Thrones conventions and related con appearances over the years, getting to meet your fans across the globe? That's a pretty cool experience that not every actor gets to have, and it speaks to the show's enduring fandom.
It's a really good way to see the world. I'll tell you that. This is the best part of the job for me, apart from the creation. I like meeting people, and coming from a music background, I was used to having immediate feedback. And you may not get feedback these days from things you put out there, but at conventions is where you'll get it. People will say, "You did a great job of this," or I was going to say, maybe not such a great job, but no one's ever said it. They will now. But it's like maybe the looking glass, the mirror that you need sometimes. And the more you know about your performance, the more you can grow as well. So the cons are useful from that. I feel like I do more now than ever. Um, I don't know why. I think we've been fortunate with like House of the Dragon and the talks of prequels and sequels. It kind of keeps it in people's brain. Um, so we've been very lucky in that regard. It feels different to like Star Trek, the likes of that. Obviously they've got massive retro appeal, but to me, Game of Thrones still doesn't feel retro. It still feels current. Maybe it's just me. I don't think it is just me. Actually, I know it's not just me. I just met thousands of people who tell me it's not. So
Now, in a reflection of how mainstream a mainstay Hodor became in the hearts of millions around the world, Sports Illustrated reveled after reading Beyond the Throne, epic journeys, enduring friendships, and surprising tales, in the deep and real way that you open up about a lifelong journey of self-acceptance. Despite his fame and success, Nairn reveals that he too battled with feelings of inadequacy, being told he was too tall or too different to succeed. Yet through all the doubt and obstacles, he learned one valuable lesson: you're enough, just as you are. For Nairn, the book isn't just about recounting his time on the set of Game of Thrones. Still more importantly, it's about sharing his struggle to find purpose and confidence in life. His evolution from a shy kid in Belfast to the international icon proves that self-confidence is the key to a fulfilled life, and his message is simple yet powerful. Don't let other people's opinions define your worth. Through his story, Nairn encourages us to embrace our uniqueness, challenge societal expectations, and find peace in our skin. Even if one person walks away from Beyond the Throne, understanding that they don't have to fit the mold to be worthy, Nairn considers his mission accomplished. Wow. Now, was this an idea you first had, or one that friends and fans kept suggesting and urging you to do, till you finally caved and began putting words down on the page?
exactly how it happened. My manager would be having constant conversations about my past and what makes me tick. And he just one day turned around to me and said, "You have to write this down. It's not normal. This is not." But what I like to say to that is, it is normal. It's just that people just don't share. And I'm hoping that in sharing that my my hijinks, for want of a better word, that'll maybe help somebody else realize that everyone goes through this stuff. I have a few banks of people in my repertoire, so I'm hoping it kind of maybe interests people who like me for one thing, maybe another thing. So I hope it kind of ties everyone together. That'll be great. The stories I put down quite quickly, like probably over a week, honestly. I just piled them down. It was like a serial killer's board, like a detective putting it together with all this. And then the real challenge was connecting them. Because I tried to like have examples from my life and then tie it to a Game of Thrones story, and that would be maybe into something else. So I tried to do that. And obviously, as a new author, I got a little bit of help with that part because I hadn't written the book before, just with making the connections. But that was fun when we got the connections to go together. It was almost like a game. Oh right, okay, I can do this. This kind of works. Maybe the timeline, it's a month early. Maybe push it back. And do you know what I mean? But everything's correct. But it was like shuffling Scrabble letters. You know what I mean? Just trying to put it together in the correct sentence, but a little bit of shuffling, and I love that. I love that. I don't have any expectations. I don't. I have hopes, but I don't expect. I hope it reaches people that can help. Um, I hope it reaches people who disagree with things I say, and maybe makes them not change their mind, but makes them slightly more compassionate towards people who are different. And that includes people who are on my side of the fence also. I'm very about communication, and I would like people to communicate um, while still being true to themselves. So I think that's what we're searching for at the minute. I think subliminally, maybe I think that's what humanity is searching for. We're trying to find a middle path. It's really hard. It's really hard, but I hope we get there. And if this helps one person get into a more compassionate state of mind about somebody who's different than them, I'll be very happy. I'm simply putting my story out there, man. And I just hope it helps in a really small way.
Have you had one or two favorite experiences that have marked the book's release so far? Whether it's seeing it in an airport bookstore, or maybe having fans ask you to sign them at conventions?
There has been advanced copies sent out, and I signed one in Portland. And I was like, how did you get this? How did you get this book? So that was a bit of a shock.
You talk with understandably great affection about your mother in the memoir, with People magazine spotlighting in its coverage of the release that you were raised by a single mom in Ireland during the Troubles, a period of conflict in the country lasting from the 1960s to the 1990s, and write of your experience coming of age in Belfast and Lisburn, and of buying your mother a house after Game of Thrones took off. Now that must have been a very rewarding moment to relive while writing about it.
Don't see it as generous, man. I mean, it's just the way I had to do it. She set me up so well in life, and I mean, what else could you do? That's the dream for every person who has a relationship with their mother. I know not everyone's lucky enough to have that, but I mean, what more could you do for your mother? I just want her to have a good time for the rest of her days. I don't want her to worry, because she's done a lot of that. She still does. She worries about me constantly, but I can't stop that. But yeah, that was just something I wanted to do because we never had much money when it's like we grew up with nothing basically. So I needed and wanted to do that.
What can fans look forward to seeing you acting and coming up on the screen? And any favorites among these post-Hodor roles you portrayed, whether in Our Flag Means Death or say Dungeon Masters?
I've done a number of things, but most notably is probably Our Flag Means Death. And really, that was a character that was written for me, so it was different. It took me a while to realize that, though. I wasn't told the character was written for me, but really, how we all as actors evolved the characters in that show, because you're working with such a collaborative director like Taika Waititi. You can really shape your character. So that was different. And I got to channel more of myself into that than I have of anything. And so that's why that's a special role to me. And also the effect it's had on our fan base has been immense.
Now that this book's out, are you feeling inspired by the desire to do any more writing in the future?
I want to do it again, actually, and I have been writing. I've been writing some poetry. Whether it sees the light of day, I don't know. And I'm thinking about some fiction too. I've got ideas down for that, so who knows? I actually wrote a piece for David Ellison, the ex-bass player from. I actually managed to write a piece for his book. Most people don't know, I actually read a bit of his audiobook for him. But that was a huge honor as well. But my favorite guitar player, because I feel that you're going to ask, is Marty Friedman. Eddie Van Halen, obviously, he's like a godfather. Almost like we wouldn't have Marty Friedman, I don't think, or anybody really, without Van Halen. So I acknowledge that, and also Jimi Hendrix before him. Which, although I don't love the music, I think Van Halen's amazing, but I just don't love the music. But Marty Friedman for me, just the vibrato, the scales, the exotic sound. That's what I really modeled myself on.
Before we run, how do you handle what we're sure are endless fan requests to give your classic introduction as Hodor, so many years after they first began watching you do it on Game of Thrones?
Cersei was one of the best characters, man. I love that character. I find that if I'm going to do it, I'll just do it right away. If someone says, say Hodor, Hodor, and that's it. If I sit and think about it, they'll be like, send me a happy one, or will you do me an upset one, or will you do me a dying one? I mean, no. Are you a director? No, but I'll give you a Hodor. It is a really pure emotional expression to me. So I'm like, what kind of friggin' Hodor do you want? It means all different things to me. So I just go, Hodor.
Kristian, it's been awesome talking today. Thanks so much for taking out time to be on About the Authors TV.
Thank you so much.